What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Nipton Celestial Being, back with another video. So yeah, man, like I said, I'm trying to get more into more gaming news, talk about some things. So we're gonna be talking about Monster Hunter Rise, and I know a lot of people who are not one of the OGs, they don't understand the aspects of how this game's gonna play, and they don't understand the politics behind it. And a lot of YouTubers who I've seen some videos that I just stumbled across, they suggested them to me. They're giving people the wrong information, so I just thought I'd make a video on this because there's a lot of new fans to the fan base, and they don't understand what's going on. So I'm gonna break it down. So I'm gonna go to the game list here for Monster Hunter series in general. So as you guys see, first generation started off on the PS2, and then becomes the PSP Monster Hunter. This is when I first started playing Monster Hunter. If you guys look at this, this says 2006. I own the actual, cartridge for the PSP to this date. Then of course we played, Monster Hunter 2, and then you got Unite. And these are the international releases. Of course, you got the JP releases where you had to get an English patch on some other type of method or something else to play those. But a lot of them we're focusing on international release, and I think that's the biggest problem here, what people don't see. As you guys see, it started off on a PlayStation console, and then it, slowly down the road from 2006 on down, it was PlayStation predominantly, because that's what they had it on. Then as soon as we got here to this point, where after 2009, after Unite, which was a great game, it shifted over to Nintendo. So they stopped for a couple years. As you can see, the drought. This is 2009 here for the last Unite, all the way to 2016, coming up to 2018, when they finally got a Monster Hunter back on PlayStation. So that's a full 7 years, man. Don't worry about this iOS. This will mess you up here. But just look at this 2009 all the way to 2018. That's almost 9 years. Now you can count the months in between or whatever official release dates. But this give you an official date. Just don't. But that's approx 9 years. So that's 9 years before it started on PlayStation and then come back until then. Now it's not a problem with the money or gameplay or anything like that. The game sold, great, and even on 3DS, it sold even more hotcakes, because 3DS eventually was the best handheld at that time. Even though some people beg to differ when it comes to opinions. Now the PSP was great, but the 3DS did have some things over it. But at the end of the day, it's up to the developers. They decide what they want to develop for. So as we get here to these cycles, don't worry about the spin-offs. Like I said, these are just the Japanese games that came out. Some we didn't get, some we did, but they were translated. So let's go up to here on this page. So that's a drop. Let's go to Rise. Let's talk about this, the game that's coming out soon, and a lot of people are debating about this. If you played the demo and you've seen the trailers and everything that you can see on the site, it's pretty good. As a Monster Hunter fan who's been playing Monster Hunter since day one, from PS2 to PSP. I knew about the PS2 but I didn't play it too much. But I started mostly on the PSP one. This is a good game. It's not bad by any means. But what people got to understand is that it's not a swipe, or people are not upset or saying they're not going to buy the game because of the graphics or it doesn't look good. Those are simple-minded people. I'm not going to even sugarcoat it. If they're not playing Monster Hunter Rise because of the graphics, something's wrong with them. But the game looks great to me. The game is not ugly. The game looks great. The demo was great. The game is gonna play great. Now for people who's gonna play the buy it day one or wait to get it on sale, or some people hoping that Capcom release an updated version of it on PC or PS4 or PS4 or PS5 or Xbox One or Xbox Series X, you're gonna hold your breath, because what people gotta understand, you gotta know this one thing right here, and I'm gonna circle it for you. Look at my mouse. It's small in text. This the company that you're dependent on, Capcom. But people don't understand, Capcom has done a lot of shady stuff, and I'm not gonna even lie to you. We can use their most recent example, Marvel vs. Capcom, very beloved series. They sold you Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Then they turned around, bought out Ultimate, and then took that money and then tried to sell us Marvel Infinite, which was a flop. So it's not that people are not buying Rise just for graphics alone. Like I said, the game presentable is great. The monster's gonna be great. Everything's gonna be fine. I think it's gonna be a solid game no matter who buys it. The principle is for certain people who's not grouped in that same thing like myself. I didn't really want to play Monster Hunter on a Nintendo console because they lost whatever exclusivity or whatever trade that they had. Now a lot of companies do stupid stuff like this, and Capcom's not the only one. Sega do this all the time, and a lot of people have seen it with the Yakuza games, even Phantasy Star now. So what people gotta understand, Phantasy Star came out on PC and PS4 in Japan. They have a PS4 version of the Phantasy Star 2 online, and they just now, people just now got that game on Xbox, the English version and the PC version. I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, if not a year before. And people gotta understand that's an 8-year-old game, but they decided to sell it to the Xbox side, and then they gave them a new game, which is the new Genesis. So they're looking for what the money was. They wasn't looking to bring the game over. So I'm gonna repeat this again so we can make sure we're not confused. There's already a Phantasy Star 2 portable. I mean, not portable, sorry. So look it up on that game. That was a good game too. But Phantasy Star 2 online in Japanese that you can download and play. And people played that already, or if they wanted to play it on the PC, they could have played on the PC with the English patch that way. But the game was already super old when they ported it over to Windows and the Xbox. So that game was already at an end of life. So nobody's not worried about that. The problem with this is a new game right out the back, and it's a new IP coming out for the Monster Hunter series. And you have some people who I played a lot with Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter World is their first Monster Hunter game that they have played ever. They didn't play the PSPs. They didn't play any of the 3DSs. They didn't play any of the Nintendo Switches. And they're going from a PC to a Switch, or a PlayStation console to a Switch, or an Xbox to a Switch. It's a problem, and that's because it's the principle. Capcom is going to do this for this reason. That this game is going to sell. People who are going to say this game is not going to sell, you're crazy. This game is going to sell, and it's going to make great things. It's the same thing with the Switch. The Switch sell, but people got to understand, Nintendo is not going to revise the Switch. People looking for a Pro, if you keep buying the regular one. If the Switch didn't sell as good as it sold now, it would have forced them to make changes to their console. But they're not going to do that, and they have no intention of updating the Switch because people like it for the way it is. Like I said, it's not the graphical power. Some people like it for the portability. Some people know they can dock it when they get home. I have a Switch myself. I play it for Nintendo's exclusives. I play all platforms. I have a PC, but you guys see on the channel that's decked out. I play every game on any platform. But Monster Hunter in Pacific, they drought that they had here from this 2009 all the way to 2018, it's a very long drought. They really told PlayStation fans, like, forget you. That's what they did. So they told everybody, hey, Monster Hunter is coming back, and it's for these consoles. Of course, Nintendo, they have a console lined up, and this game couldn't support it. I mean, I'm pretty sure some people wish they could have ran Monster Hunter World on a Nintendo Switch, but Capcom, they wasn't going to make their development team go in and get a Nintendo Switch version of a Monster Hunter World running. That's a Capcom thing. They said we'll rather give them their own game, which they already gave you guys the remake. I think it was Generation Ultimate. They had that for a minute. A lot of people wasn't happy with that, and they decided to give them Rise. So they're gonna make money off Rise. Then they're gonna eventually either come out with one or two things, and this is what you're gonna wait on, depending on what you got. You're gonna either buy the Switch and play Rise now, or you're gonna have to wait for them to come out with the definitive edition and put it on all platforms. But the problem is, it depends on how long you want to wait for the content to come out. Like I said, I never liked it playing them on the 3DS or Switch or any of these. So I never bought them on these, just to give y'all that clarification. I didn't buy them on these. I bought all these Ending with Unite. I did not buy Tri. I did not buy Ultimate here. I did not buy 4. I did not buy Generations. But I know what all of them are, and I know how they play. So I also want to tell y'all this. Monster Hunter from the core on down. Monster Hunter was at its peak here in the PSP. A lot of the gameplay mechanics and the style they went to when they switched over to the 3DS, because it's a whole nother controller. That's when you got all those schemes where you're grabbing on monsters and doing all this other stuff. Now on Rise, you can get on the monster and make a Rathalos or a Rathian shoot a fireball. You would never thought that would ever happen, that you would be able to control that. So it's a lot of dumbed down mechanics that people may not like, depending on if they are a hardcore Monster Hunter fan. There are some people who play Monster Hunter for some of the simplicity and to get help from other people to do that. And the Switch infrastructure is bad. There's no denying that the online play is going to suffer significantly. So most people who's going to buy Monster Hunter on the Switch is going to be doing solo artists. So that's the main problem I know for some people. But it's not the graphics. Like I said, Monster Hunter at its core was on PlayStation Portable. And we already know the Switch has way better graphics than that. So a lot of people who just don't like the game because of the graphics, no, that's retarded. I'm just saying that. There's nothing wrong with the game. The problem is some people do not like the politics behind it, that they would make a fan base on this side wait in a drought for this. Like I said, I play a lot of games on a 3DS, a Switch, right, and a Wii U. I currently still own, right now as we speak, a Wii U, a Switch, and a 3DS. I have all those Nintendo consoles right now as we speak, as I talk through this microphone. It's certain games that I play on all of them. So when I play, my Switch and things like that, of course you got Smash, you got Zelda, you got Fire Emblem, one of my favorite series, and any other Nintendo titles that I can play on there. Now, if there's a multi-plat that I may like, and I may like it for the Switch over a console, I may get it on the Switch. But I have no alliance with them. I'm just have a pick with Capcom for choosing not to release a game in one selected region or a selected console or PC, because they just want to bank on more money. So that's the politic behind that. This game, as you see, it has a long updates since being released, but the game is at its end of life. Yes, Monster Hunter World is great, but it's ending. If most people who beat Monster Hunter World, like really, they have already got to the end of the content, to the end of it. There's no end game for them. I've literally tried to play Monster Hunter, if not once a month or 2 times a month, so I don't blow through the content. And I'm at Fatalist. If I haven't even played it in like the last 3 weeks, if I really wanted to, I could just go get Fatalist. I have all the armor I need. I just need to fight them. I just been too tired. You gotta see my upload schedule. But it's not that. Like I said, people don't like the politics behind that. Now, certain games you can't get that's multi-plat, you fully understand that. You're not gonna get Smash Bros on PlayStation or Xbox. People need to come to the realization, if you want to play Smash Bros, you need to get a Switch for that, or a Nintendo console, whatever the latest one it is. So people are very aware of what exclusives belong to one particular brand. But Monster Hunter is not a brand exclusive. They just choose to market on certain systems, and then they bank off that, and then they move on to the next. I use more examples for Capcom because they're notorious for all their games. Street Fighter is another one. They told you guys all these characters wasn't gonna be able to be in Street Fighter 5. All these characters are there, and it's a mess. And they about to release another update to the new Street Fighter with more characters to bank off. Let alone got advertisements in the game that you paid for. So it's a lot of stuff that people don't understand. If you play games from now, or if you're a new gamer, it's a lot of 2000 babies who play these games and they don't understand some of the hard work that go into it. I know fully well what it takes and what it do, but the politics behind them make sense. So I'm gonna use Sega again for another reference. It's gonna be my last reference of the day. Try not to make this video too long. Valkyria Chronicles was a very decent series, and that game didn't have this mess. This is just a Capcom mess, but it's a Sega game. They had Valkyria Chronicles 1, which was on PS3. Then they, managed to get a Valkyria Chronicles 2 that came out on PSP, and that ended up being the great game. It sold very well in the States, and it sold more than it did in Japan. When they released Valkyria Chronicles 3, it came out in Japanese, but we didn't get the game, even though ours outsold the Japanese counterpart. So you're thinking like, maybe, certain Japanese studios, they don't port the game over if the game didn't sell well. The game sold well than the Japanese counterpart, and we still didn't get the game. And they did that just because they wanted to support their own people, but they did not want to support the international release. The game had the demand. They just did not want to do it. It's a choice that they made. It wasn't that they weren't going to make the money. They did not care about the money. They just did not want to give us the game. So now you got the one that came out now, which is Valkyria Chronicles 4. That one's multi-plat. You can get that on the Switch, PS4, and PC. And they remade the first one for the PS4, the Switch, and the PC. And you got to tell people, look, it's pretty much over. You already screwed your base over when you did it. You screwed them over for 2. And that's why you got to understand a lot of these Japanese, companies, when they do certain things like that, it screws it up on the system, no matter who it is. Not just because they went from a PlayStation to Nintendo. It can be any vice versa thing. It could be because it was on Xbox first, and then it went to Nintendo, or, it was on Nintendo, and then it went to PlayStation. It's a whole bunch of instances where certain companies did not care about that base. So it goes a lot of ways depending on the company. But like I said, this was just mostly focused on the Monster Hunter series as a whole and why people may or may not play Rise. A lot of people keep using graphics as his core, and that's not the reason. Like I said, Monster Hunter at its peak was not about the graphics. It was about the gameplay mechanics and how it played. Most people who play World understand that it's a watered down version unless they're new to the series. Rise is going to be watered down, but it's going to be a great experience. So trust me, people who do plan to pick this up, do not, be shy of your purchase. You're going to get everything that is worth. The only thing that you're getting, or you're paying for is, if you are one of those people that, maybe bought somewhere else and they say, okay, yeah, don't worry about it. We're going to make sure that, everybody gets the game and do this. If you're one of those people who say, like, if you own all the consoles and you can care less about what politics they do, you're going to be good. But me, I care about that stuff because that don't make sense. It's stupid. It's just like if Last of Us, it's a PlayStation brand, and if they just start, to say The Last of Us just left PlayStation for 5 years or 3 years or some crap like that. And even though I own a Switch, and they said we put it on the Switch, I would not buy it. It's stupid why they would do that. It doesn't make sense. I will not buy it. But hey, look, that's what I want to talk to you guys about, man. Good game overall. If you're going to buy it, buy it. But if you understand what the politics is, meaning your money mean a lot to these companies when they decided to make stupid moves. They already learned from their failure for Marvel Infinite. And guess what, guys? We haven't seen no new Marvel game yet. Marvel Infinite is over. They haven't made a new one yet. They didn't say, hey, we messed up on Marvel Infinite. Here's your new game. They just coped with the losses and got out of there. They didn't release a new game because they took all the money they took from the first 2 Marvels. But, you know, see you guys in the next video, man. Just want to let you guys know about that. Peace out.